Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of the Unreal Cousins. Now in this video, I'm going to show you how you can create like a score system for an Unreal Engine project. So I'm just going to create a third person template project here, and then what I'm going to do is try to make a score system that whenever it lands on a coin, the score goes up by 1. And when it lands on, I don't know, a red coin, it goes down by 1 or something like that. And it will be displayed on the top of the screen. So that's what we're trying to do. So let's start. I'll just name it something like score. And I'm going to do blueprints, keep everything here the same. And then create project. Once your project loads here, you'll see just a simple thing where you can make your character walk around. So the goal is to make it so that when he steps on something, it will put the score up by 1. So let's make a folder and call it coins. And because we're making 2 different coins, so to make the coin, the way we do this is we're going to create a blueprint class, which and then an actor. And an actor can be an object, and then this file right here is where you control what that object does. So we'll call this good coin or something like that. Once you open it up, you'll see something like this. So let's create a coin by making a I don't know. Let's just make a square cube for now, because why not? I mean square coin. It's perfect. Alright, and let's just create a material by right-clicking and create material, and we'll call this green because it's the color of a good coin, right? And so double-click it to open it, and on your number pad, hold down 1 and click, or no, 3 and click. Sorry. Hold down 3 while you click, and then you can double-click here to change the color, and we're going to change this one to green, and then you have to scroll this one up to the top, and then drag this into the base color, and that way it makes this material basically just green. Okay, so whenever we put this material on an object, the object will be green. And just to show you how that works, like see this material here, if I put it on this, well, after it renders it will become green, like that. So let's undo that for now because we just want the coins to be green, right? So let's open up the good coin, and let's make the good coin green by dragging the green material onto this cube, or actually I think I need to drag it onto the material thing right there. That's good. And compile this, and now go to the event graph, and we'll do event begin overlap. So when the character touches this object, what it's going to do, well, actually before we do that, let's create a variable. Now the variables are basically what stores the score. So a variable is, there's a bunch of different kinds. They can be numbers, text, all kinds of different things. For this example, it's going to be a number because we want it to go up by 1 every time, and so that would be an integer. And so with that integer, what we can do is, so we'll call it score, and we'll make it an integer, and then and so then now if we drag score right here and say set score, then drag event begin overlap to here, it's basically saying when the character touches it, set score to this. But we want the score to go up, we don't just want to set it to a number. So the way we can do that is we can drag score again and get score, and then drag score, but this will just be setting it to itself, so it won't go up by 1, which is why if you press plus on your keyboard, you'll see integer, no, I did equals. You want plus. Integer plus integer, right? So plus this, so we're saying the current score plus 1, and then what it gets from that will set as the score now. So it's basically just setting the score up by 1, and so whenever the character touches this block, the score will go up by 1. Now this works. This will work. So if I put the block right here, and I press play, and I run into this block, the score did go up. Actually, wait, there's one more thing I need to do before that to get that to work. You need to go select this block in the viewport and scroll down a bit until you see collision, and then collision presets, switch this to overlap all dynamic, and then compile that and save. Then you'll see what happens. The score does go up by 1 every time we touch this and walk through it. The only problem is that it's not being displayed anywhere, so we wouldn't know that. So before we create the thing that displays it, though, I'm going to duplicate this, and we'll call the new one bad coin. And the bad coin will subtract our score by 1. So if you're here, we can replace this with a minus. So press minus on your keyboard to get integer minus integer, integer minus 1. That's what we want. So it's going to remove score by 1. So compile that. And then we want to make a red one because red is bad, I guess. So right click, press material, and call this red or something like that. Double click it to open it, and press 3 on your keyboard and then click, and then double click here to get the color and set it to red. So just pull these two up and then drag that into the base color, and then compile that. And now if you drag well, what you need, actually first you need to go back into bad coin, and you need to go to the viewport and change this to the red and save that. And now if we bring in this bad coin over here, it is going to change our score by 1. Actually, wait, no, that's another thing. It's not going to be changing our score by 1 still, because these two each have their own different variables. See, if I go to the event graph here, this has its variable called score, and this has its variable called score, but they're two separate variables, and they're both using separate variables, so it won't work. I think the best way to do this is if we go to the player, which will be home, third person BP, blueprints, third person character. Once that opens, you'll have all this stuff. Create a new variable here and call this score, and set this to an integer. And the reason that it would be good to set it here is instead of in the actual blocks themselves is because this is a general, the player is a general object that all the objects can cast to. So this object can ask the player what the score is, as well as this object, instead of this object having its own score and this object having another score. That's why that's good. So then go back to this and go to both the good coin and the bad coin, open them both up, and now we're just going to change, instead of setting the score to score, we're going to do a new thing which is called casting. So we're going to say cast to third person character, and what this does is it's saying get information for the third person character, or you can even set information for the third person character. So if we can get that variable from the third person character by casting, and for the object we need to get player character. So just type get player character for the object and plug that in. And so here we're going to set score, you see, same as here, except and then we're also going to get score again, same as here again, and then you can delete these two blocks from earlier if you would like, and then just you can use this minus block again to set the score like this. And so now it's when this bad block, when you touch this bad coin, I did something wrong, didn't I? I don't know what I did. Hold on. Okay, so you need to make sure that you saved and compiled the third person character before you do this. Make sure it's compiled and saved, and then you should be able to compile this, and it works. Okay? So basically we're saying get information from the third person character, we're saying get the score, and then we're saying set the score as the current score -1, because this is a bad coin, so we're setting it -1. Same for this one. We'll do the same thing. We can, if we select all of this, we can Control C, and then we'll delete this and Control V. So it's because it's basically doing the same thing here. The only difference is instead of subtraction, we're doing addition. So plus integer plus integer plus 1. So we're getting the current score and we're adding 1 this time. So now everything is working. The only thing is we don't know what our score is, but there is a variable in this player that has the score. It's just not being shown on the screen, and that's because we haven't told it to yet. So just to make sure it works, we could do something like when P key or space bar, when space bar is pressed, we can print string and then cast to third person character, and do the same thing here where we get the get player character. You don't have to do this because I'm going to change this in a moment anyway, so I'm just showing you for an example. I mean, if you're following along. And then get score. So now if I press the space bar, it'll show the score. That's what should happen, right? So right now it's 0. When I press this, it's 1. Let's see if that's true. That doesn't really work, but it's okay. We don't need that. So to get it to display the score, what we'll need to do is create a widget, which is basically like a user interface, anything in Unreal Engine. So to do that, right click and hover over user interface and widget blueprint. And for this, say score, I guess. And then double click this to open it. And then basically what we want to do is get some text, right? Because we want to display it as text. And we can just put it in the corner or something. And then you see this text box where it says text box. We can click on the bind and create a binding. And then what this does is it says like whatever is in this return value here is what it will show on the screen. So what we can do is cast to third person player again. And what it's doing here is and we'll get player character as well. What it's doing here is, again, getting information from the third person character, and from the third person character it's going to get score. As you can see, when we cast the third person character, we can always get the information stored in the third person character. And so drag this into the return value there, and so now it should work. But it's still not going to display when we press play because we never told this widget to show. So the way we get that to work is we go blueprint, open level blueprint, and then drag this up and event begin play. So when the game starts, we're going to create widget, which is the one we just made, called score. Then drag off this, add to viewport, and then drag this in here. And it should work, yeah. Okay, now when we hit play, we see a 0 in the corner, and if I go here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, see? It keeps going up every time I hit the green, and it goes down if I hit the red. And so that's pretty cool. So it'll just keep changing. We can get negative even. -3, 4. Yeah. If we want to make it a little bigger, we can, because it's kind of small. So we just go back here into the designer, and we scroll down a bit, I think, maybe. Oh yeah, in the appearance, drop down font, and set this to something bigger, and then compile. Now when we play, it'll be even bigger. It's a big 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, you get the point. It'll go down if we walk through this, and we can put these objects anywhere we want. So if we're in here and we want to have a good coin over here, a bad coin over here, we can just bake these all over the place, and yeah, whenever the player touches them, the score will change. And as you can tell. So that's a simple way to make a score inside a game. Yeah, if you can use this in any kind of games you want, because most games have some kind of score system in some way. And yeah, so I hope that helps. Make sure to leave a like on this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, that's the end of the video. So